Thank you all for being here again. I'm Jordan. I'm the executive director for Pandion Music Foundation. We've got Anai Cruz here as well with us, who's our program director, and then Jared Alua, who is helping as a host for many of our workshops now. So you'll get to see him more often. And just to give a little background on Pandion for those who are new here, we're a 501c3 nonprofit that provides community and skill building opportunities for music creators in Los Angeles and beyond to cultivate long-lasting lives in music through free online and some in-person workshops, wellness support, and scholarship-based music programs. We foster a community where creators from diverse backgrounds and identities have the support tools and resilience they need to keep making music in an ever-evolving industry. So really honing in on community, networking and collaboration this year. As we know, the music industry can be hard sometimes, especially these days. So we feel that's really important for musicians to prioritize for themselves wellness as well, to continue having the energy and the resilience to make their art. Um, so thank you all for supporting us, and we're really excited to have Asha Dillion here with us today, music supervisor. We're so excited to get to chat with, and hopefully you all have your questions ready to go. We're going to take questions throughout the call, so if you have any, feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll get to them when we can, and you're also welcome to come on screen. So if you want to just raise your virtual hand, if you have a question, feel free to do so, and we can call you on. Um, and stick around till the end as well. We will be collecting music submissions today. For anyone who hasn't been to one of our music supervisor meet and greets, we usually collect music submissions, just one submission each from our community who is here present today. So not for friends who are not here, only for this group. And we're going to collect those songs and then make a playlist for Asha and anyone else who uses the Disco platform. We'll make it public on there so other supervisors can find that music as well. So make sure it's all mastered, ready to go music, that's nothing that's like still in the works or anything, because these will be songs that we want to be able to be used for sync licensing right now. So yes, I will share that link, that submission link at the end. So you have to be here for the whole call and participate. And we're so happy to get started. So thank you again, Asha. Jared, you can take it from here and give a little background, and then we can go from that point.
All right. So a short bio is Asha Dillon is a partner SVP of music creative and production at the Wilders and premier audio production company based in Toronto and Los Angeles, and a seasoned audio producer and music supervisor. Her current role involves everything from in-studio audio, working with collaborative directors and communicators for composers, musicians, and clients to create transcendent sonic experiences that leave an enduring impact. Recent projects include Late Bloomer, Stormy, Optimist Guide to the Planet, Canada's Drag Race, The Z Suite, and Revival. Asha serves as a board chair for the Darkspark, which is an internationally known, recognized not-for-profit organization and culturally diverse network of recording artists, educators, music producers, and filmmakers who harness pop culture as an effective catalyst for social change. Always in service of the story, okay? Underline that. Um, Asha draws upon her sensibility as a music lover and tenacity as a producer to bring a considered approach to most complex of projects. So like they said earlier, feel free to ask any questions as we go along. And if you just want to wait for them as things go, let's make it as comfortable as possible. We're here for you all, so please tap in and enjoy.
Amazing. Asha, do you want to start off by maybe filling in anything else that we missed from your bio and just give us a little
Yeah,
background on you?
sure. Yeah, I see so many familiar faces, and I would like to say hi to all of my friends out there and to all the new faces that I'm seeing. Thank you for being here. That was a pretty comprehensive bio, but to give you a little bit of background on me, I grew up in very small town, Ontario, Canada, and I know there are some Canadians here. And my kind of dream when I was little was to somehow be in music. And so I grew up actively going to singing lessons. I was put in dance by my mom when I was pretty young. My sister was too. And I was all through high school, I was doing double major, vocal and dance. And then after school, I was in dance troupe. And then I was going to the studio to do dance as well. So most of my life revolved around music. And I knew that I was incredibly passionate about it. And at the time, I felt like the real avenue to be in music was to be an artist. And as the years went on, I didn't necessarily find my niche in music, and I moved to Toronto. I went to school. I did a music business program and a studio program, and I went, okay, I love this. I don't necessarily have to be an artist. There are so many other avenues in music that can take me where I want to go. And I had a deep love of film and television music. And so that kind of really galvanized me, and I decided to see what other avenues I could pursue. And from there, I worked for a record label for a bit. I was also starting to produce some music because I really love the studio side of things. And then I landed at a place called Pirate, which is a place here in Canada, starting to get a little bit more international reach on their end of things, but they were mostly focused on advertising and had a small department for long format stuff, so TV mostly, a little bit of film, and that's where I really found my calling, I think. After Pirate, I went over to a company called Grace and Music, which turned into a joint venture that became the Wilders, and we've been a company for about 7 years now. The Wilders is operating pretty much internationally. We've done work with lots of clients in the UK, lots of clients in the US. We have Tiffany Sue, who some of you may know. She's located in Los Angeles. And yeah, we do all kinds of, we like the weirder projects, but we do all kinds of stuff from documentaries to audiobooks to podcasts. We're doing some like radio dramas right now, which is really cool. Lots of feature films in the summer here in Canada. Everything kind of shoots in the summer so that they can avoid the winter. Lots of TV, lots of dramatic TV, lots of kids stuff. And on the US side, lots of feature films, lots of factual too. So it's a pretty great time to be in the industry and kind of getting to know everybody. I know there are a lot of aspiring composers here too, screen composers, and that's something that kind of falls within our purview when we do a project. We usually get the projects that come with the score and the songs, original songs and licensed songs. So we like the big chunky projects, and we often get those projects coming through the door. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. I really love Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a roller skater. I love wrestling, and I have 2 ragdoll cats that are my children, and that's me.
Cute. Oh my gosh, I love that. I just joined a D&D campaign as well, so
Oh,
I can
nice.
relate. Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's a newer love for me, but it's so fun.
Yeah, cool. Do you find that like I think it's interesting to hear from other artists and people in the music industry what else inspires them because I think it kind of, music can be all encompassing and kind of you can get
Yeah.
really focused on it, but then it's nice to have those other things too that help inspire you and keep you on track with the music.
Yeah, that's right. I actually met somebody the other day who's an aspiring music supervisor, and she came about it because she was curating playlists for her D&D campaign. And
Oh,
so
wow.
found that she was really great at doing that, and people were like, "Huh, maybe you should do this for a living." And so
Yeah.
she has decided to dip her toes into it, and I've been kind of helping guide her with that kind of thing. But it's funny how people come into it, they realize that they're really good at something or that they have a love for something, and it can be anything because music is just so intrinsically linked throughout our lives. And certainly for me, it's been the shining light in the darker moments, and it's also been just like background for every special moment that I've had in my life, and I know that a lot of people here can agree too.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone here has ever been interested in becoming a music supervisor, if that's something that you're on track to pursue, maybe pop that in the chat so we can see if there's anyone that's interested so we can kind of talk about that a bit too. I know that I think most of the people here are artists trying to get their music synced. So, but yeah, there might be the other side as well.
Yeah.
Cool. So, can you give us maybe to start off like a little day in the life for yourself and what it's like in your role at
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, I would say it's always very, very different because we have so many projects coming through the door at any given time. Um, we could be halfway through something, wrapping something up, and the next thing is in. And it's always very, very different. My day is different every single day. And it's probably been that way since I've been in the business. Yeah, lots of talking to artists, lots of talking to clients, lots of problem solving. I would say that's probably the biggest thing. And it can be um, from the perspective of even just, we call it cracking the sound of a show, which is figuring out what that thing that makes it special is on the music side or on the sound side. So that could be, we see that as kind of like a problem to solve. It's more of a challenge, but it is something that we're solving. To the complex mysteries of music licensing, where you're trying to figure out that 0.1% that's missing on something, and you're asking all the publishers and you're trying to figure those things out. So every day is different. I would say that there's so much that is so rewarding, there's so much that is so challenging, but the best part of it is um, working with people who really, really love music. And that's artists, that's directors, because oftentimes directors and showrunners come to the table with these dream songs they've had. And sometimes it's, we've got to fight a battle because there's not enough money for the dream song. So we have to find something that won't feel like they're sacrificing. And a lot of times it's also getting the opportunity to help break an up and coming artist or a junior composer who hasn't been given an opportunity. And so we're constantly expanding the network that we have and constantly trying to kind of feed opportunities through for people. That's a big part of our mandate, especially here in Canada. There's a very tight knit group of composers that kind of get all of the jobs. And so our goal is to pair some of those usual suspects with somebody younger and giving them an opportunity to be mentored, because TV and film can be just such a different beast than something like advertising, and getting them the experience and the credits so that they can go and run on their own. And that goes the same for artists. We work with a lot of songwriters on the original music side, but also on the licensing side, just giving people the opportunities where they might not have had the chance to be heard previously is a really big part of our mandate. And personally for me too, because there can be a pretty large barrier to entry. And certainly on the music side, I find that those barriers to entry tend to range, but it's important for us to kind of like foster the relationships in different communities so that they get those opportunities.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that working with different artists, composers, and people want to get in. How is it with the day to day when people are making mistakes that you see? I always love to hear about the common mistakes that
Oh,
artists are
that's so
making.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Well, Jordan mentioned earlier about mastering. That's one thing that I would say is like, make sure if you're pitching your music, that it's the quality, the output is sounding good, because I want to just be able to go, hey, here's the track to picture. Do you like it? I love it. Here's why I love it. And not have them worry about the fidelity of the music. So that's one thing that I would say is make sure that it doesn't necessarily have to be polished, because you run the risk of sounding overproduced or something, but make sure it's presentable if you're pitching it. That's number one, I would say. And just knowing the ownership on everything, knowing that you've signed off with your co-writers and everything's in line, and that there's no surprise publisher somewhere that's going to pop up. That's also really important. And knowing whether or not you have the right to sign off on the 100% or whatever it is. If you're able to do that, that is a big thing, because we move so quickly a lot of the time that any kind of snag will really, really, really slow us down. So knowing that everything is clean and reliable and you have the stems and that kind of stuff is really important. It's a
Yeah,
great
definitely.
question.
Yeah, I wanted to hear that because I know like a lot of us are collaborators or like independent, and so we need to hear the things that are the challenge that you deal with, so we don't have to run into that wall.
Yeah.
You know, we prepare ahead of time and then make sure we have our things in order.
Yeah. I see a question from Casey about one-stop agreements. And Casey, maybe you can elaborate here, but do you mean, do we prefer to deal with one-stops? I don't see Casey.
Yeah, let me unmute Casey. Let me find it. Always takes me a second to get through these. And if you see Casey, feel free to unmute as well. Huh. Where are you? Casey, if you could raise your hand, that might help too. Oh, I see you. Thank you. Okay, unmuting you now.
Hey, yeah, I've always been told that most supervisors prefer to get a one-stop split sheet where, it says that the co-writers all agree that anyone can sign the agreement, and that usually helps clear up a lot of things.
Yeah, one-stops are definitely the preference, especially if we're moving really quickly. It's not always possible. It really is not always possible, but if you have the ability to sign off everything one-stop, that is like the good stuff for sure. Yeah,
Thank
that's a
you.
great question. Yeah, no worries. I see another question that I want to answer from Mike about stems. So yeah, I would probably have them print stems when you're getting your record back. Basically have them do it at the same time so that you have access to them. They will be able to print those stems for you. If that answers your question. I don't think I see you on my screen. I might have to.
Oh yeah,
pop
I can find.
here.
Yeah,
yeah,
that was something I didn't know until I got into like started learning more about sync licensing. Like I don't think that producers or mixer, whoever is like giving you your final product of the recording, they don't really do that automatically usually. I think
Yeah.
you do have to ask them, which I made that mistake early on, and I don't have the stems for a lot of my earlier music because I didn't know that that was a thing that needed to happen for sync licensing. Yeah, so definitely do ask when you get, because I don't think it really costs extra money for them to just like export those when they're giving you your final product. Yeah.
I would say at the very least, an instrumental version is good. I find that we have to do, sometimes you find something absolutely perfect and you don't necessarily have to come in and out of an instrumental, but a lot of the time we need some instrumental to help build against a scene. Yeah.
Right.
I wanted to add, Asha, you mentioned printing the actual waves, because if you don't print, so say the session is in Pro Tools and they have certain plugins that you don't have, you take it home, you try to open the session, it does not sound how because
that's right.
So you mentioned print, and that's very important because you have to go home with that you had.
That's right. That's right. That's a big thing, because I mean, I work in Pro Tools a lot of the time, and only for like music editing and checking stems and that kind of thing. But I will tell you that half of the time you can't open somebody else's session without something breaking or something going, we don't have that plugin. So have them do it. It's a little bit better. And then it's also like, you don't have to deal with all the routing and the weirdness and that kind of thing. Yeah. I saw a question popped in here from Helen. I just want to answer this. You said, I'm the sync licensing coordinator for a small artist management company. I'm struggling to find contacts to pitch to. This is an interesting question, because it's really, so Canada is kind of one thing, and I would say we're an incredibly small community of creatives here on the music supervision side, but also on the filmmaking side. Like the ones that are always working are kind of the same names that you'll see over and over again. So I would say that the best way at it internationally is kind of identifying like who's getting credits on the larger scale work, who are the names that you keep seeing over and over again. But then I'll also look at like up and coming short films. So short film festivals, look at those directors, start making contacts there, see who their music supervisors are, contacting, definitely in the US, it's the same kind of situation. I always say, like, reach out to music supervisors, but also reach out to the filmmakers and the other creatives involved in the business, because they're also always going, well, I have this person that I really love and I would love to put their music in my film, I just haven't had a place yet. So I think that it's always worth kind of talking to the community as a whole and not just the tastemakers, I guess. That's a good question.
Great advice. Yeah. It must be a whole world, like, to start getting into music supervision, and just sounds like a game of networking, essentially. Like, I mean, in the art, on the artist side, a lot of it is that too, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, I encourage everybody to reach out to not just the music supervisors, reach out to the filmmakers, reach out to the people that you can access easily, and share their stuff. You share your stuff with them, because they will, if they like you, they will make space for you. That is that's what I've seen frequently. I've had, very small indie artists that have made a connection with a showrunner, and the showrunner really, really just listens to it personally and goes, okay, I would really like to have this in my project. And that happens quite a bit, actually. So it is worth making those connections as artists with those creatives, for sure.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Tasha has a question here. She says, hi, fellow Canadian. Thanks for being here. Do you prefer songs you're pitching to be exclusively repped or non-exclusively primarily, or does it matter?
Yeah, no, it doesn't really, I would say it doesn't really matter. Not from my perspective. Somebody like Tiffany in my LA office, for example, might have a preference, but here I would say it doesn't really matter. It's funny because we also deal in kind of, if we're doing an American production, the terms are a little bit different than they are in Canada. The budgets look different, all kinds of things look different. So sometimes they will have preferences that are different than ours here in Canada, but it's a good question to be asking. And I would ask that, if you are reaching out to music supervisors, I would ask that to each of them individually, but I personally have no preference.
Great, that's good to know. Everyone does it differently.
Yeah.
Oh, is there another question here?
Yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of questions.
Yeah, I'm just making sure we're getting all these. I have a question in the meantime.
Yeah.
I'll go through this and make sure we're not missing anything. What do you see as like one of the greatest struggles that artists face when you're, working with artists or artists who want to get into sync licensing, and how to approach that, like, for the artists? Like, any advice for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the most common thing that I am hearing is probably that you almost land one and it goes away, and that tends to happen. It happens on large scale songs too. And I would say that you shouldn't get discouraged. Like, do not let that keep you from continuing to pitch. Really having an organized place where I can access your catalog is really helpful for me, because a lot of the time I will go, oh yeah, this person has this particular thing, and I remember the melody on that song, and I wonder if they have more stuff like that where I can just kind of like pitch 3 of the songs at once and thread it through an episode so that we're telling a story with the music. So to have something really organized, like Disco is the one that we use mostly, and I know a lot of artists are using Disco as well. Have it really organized. It can be a Google Drive, it can be a Dropbox, just have everything there. And I would say, if you have access to your instrumentals and stems at that time too, throw them alongside wherever you're putting your catalog, so that I can go, I don't have to necessarily go, is there an instrumental? Can you get it to me by Friday? I just know that it's there and that I'll be able to access it easily. So that's a very important part of the whole equation. I would say it's just easier for us to be able to click through your entire catalog. And once you've got the catalog kind of in a music supervisor's mind, or really easily accessible to them, I think you'll find that they're probably asking you a lot more about, hey, I'm doing this thing. I know that this song is potentially really close to this reference. What other song in your catalog do you think I'm could fit here? Because I think this song might fit, but do you think something else might fit? And then that opens the dialogue, and you have a little bit more of a back and forth with your network of people that are placing the music and stuff. So those are two things that I think are really important. And then I would say that yeah, it's one interesting thing that I've seen recently is that there's a lot more people doing sync specific projects, and that can work really, really well. So if it's not necessarily your artist project and it's not you're not putting your artist project forward, you might want to consider doing a sync project separately to explore a different side of what you like to do. I find that some interesting things can come out, and there are definite trends in sync that I really encourage people, if you are interested in specifically doing a sync project that's different from your artist project, look at what's kind of trending. And I would honestly look at production music libraries. They're always very forward thinking. They kind of have their fingers on the pulse in multiple regions across the world, and they are very, very good at thinking about what's next in music. So if that is something that is interesting to you, do a sync specific project and pitch those separately from your artist stuff as well. That's something that I found to be pretty successful for people, and it gives you an opportunity to just kind of like do something different, do something challenging, and maybe collaborate with people that you're not collaborating with on your other projects.
Cool. I love all that advice. That's amazing. Thank you. I see that Michelle, you posted something in the chat. Would you mind coming on the screen so we can get another face on here if you feel okay with that? Just yeah, okay.
Hi,
I'm gonna unmute
Michelle.
you.
Hi.
Yeah, that's a great question. It really depends on the project, the CanCon thing. I don't see it all that often. It does come up. It recently came up for something, and I can't quite recall what it was. I think it was a feature that something with the tax credits required a CanCon specific like Canadian piece.
Can you share what
does come
CanCon is
up.
really quick, Asha?
Yeah,
What is
it's
CanCon?
Canadian content. It is,
Okay.
there are certain MAPL that makes up the CanCon whole. So it's like music artist, I can't remember what the P is, and lyrics. Producer, there you go. And so you need to have a certain amount of that to qualify as CanCon. I think the rules have changed a little bit around CanCon on the radio, if I'm not mistaken. But I will say that with the tax credit system in Canada, we have a very rewarding tax credit system for productions. You have to have like Canadian music supervisor on, even if it's a co-production, Canadian composer. And some of your actors have to be Canadian. Your director, I think, has to be Canadian. And for those things, there are specific requirements on the composer side, but also how much your music spend is. So it could be like, I have, usually it's like 60% of it should be Canadian spend. So it could be that I am sending Canadian dollars out to a label that has a Canadian office. That still technically qualifies as a Canadian spend. But that's a great question, because that kind of thing does come up where I have to be mindful of how much Canadian stuff I'm putting in, and then how much can be stuff from across the world. But it's not on every project. I am very yeah, I'm very interested in international music scenes, and a lot of the time I just did a feature that had some EDM artists from Berlin and some very incredible South Asian music. So it really just depends on the project and the needs of the project. But the back end of it is that there's a tax credit system here, and sometimes we have to be mindful of what we're placing, for sure.
Thank you.
That's a great question. Thank you.
Great.
And then we have JB Russell. He said that you mentioned disco earlier, but were you talking about
Yeah.
disco.ac or disco, the actual genre?
Disco.ac. Yeah, disco.ac. So it's
Nice.
yeah, I see that Jordan posted the website, and yeah, music management. That's exactly what it is. It's really a really fantastic platform. A lot of people are using it, and it's just a good place to have your catalog accessible. A lot of labels and publishers have their catalogs accessible through Disco as well.
Cool. I'm curious, Asha, for you, do you usually download the music off of Disco and keep it somewhere else for yourself, or do you just keep your catalog on there now?
It depends. It really depends. I would say that a couple years ago, we were mostly pulling stuff down and keeping like an easy bin that we could search on our end, but mostly now it's through Disco.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, they've really expanded the platform too over the past couple of years. There's a lot more
Yes.
capacity in it. And what you were mentioning before about including your stems, they now have the option where you can make like little like nested tracks. So you upload like your song, and then you can do nested all the stems and everything else, the instrumental.
And the instrumental.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's perfect.
Great.
That works perfectly because I don't have to poke around to find it. It's there and it's attached to the master track. So
That's great.
I would recommend it if you are looking for. It's also just like a really nice interface, and when you're pitching your stuff, it's really easy to navigate.
Yeah, cool. Let's see. There's some more questions. Jared, did you see another question on here?
Yeah, Janet Buller was asking, are there any kind of songs that you're specifically needing for like any kid projects?
So I would say right now, I'm doing a bunch of kind of random projects, not really random. It's just that they're kind of all over the place. Right now, I would say that country is kind of having a moment, and all of the kind of offshoots of country, outlaw country, things that sound like they're from the 60s, newer country, country with a trap element to it, country pop. That's the thing, at least here in Canada right now. But also anything that feels like it's 70s to 90s, we slowly creep towards the 2000s as well, but 70s to 90s, anything that feels in that vein is really really popular right now. People are asking for that a lot. There's a lot more, not necessarily, I guess you could call it a period piece, because it's like 80s, 90s, that kind of thing. Lots more of those stories are being told right now. And so we're not always looking to put something that's like recorded in the 80s or written in the 80s in a piece. It could be something that feels like it was written in the 80s, and it's a piece of a background source thing. And so that's I would say that's top level. What's really, those are the needs right now. But I'm also doing projects that are really jazzy and a little bit more kind of offbeat musically, and the stuff that you wouldn't normally hear in TV and film. I've done a couple recently that are really like dark Americana kind of stuff, and not dark pop, but like, I would say, I don't know if anybody is a fan of Nick Cave, but his record Murder Ballads, that kind of stuff is starting to get fairly popular. So it's all over the map, and I would just say send me anything and everything, because it really, I could tomorrow get a call for something. I'm working on something right now that has an old Pete Seeger cover of a public domain children's song. So it's all over the map, and I would say shoot your shot, because we really do all kinds of stuff. And the more you talk to people that are doing the same thing that I do, they'll probably say exactly the same thing. Where that might differ is advertising. Advertising is a different story, and I would say look at what's kind of trendy in advertising now to get into the ballpark of what they're needing. And advertising is different in Canada than it is in the US, and the things that are popular are different. But on the film and TV side, I would say it's kind of the same. The trends kind of stay the same no matter where you are.
And on that, I'm gonna go bridge with that right into Elliot's question for his second part, which about lyrical themes. What are you currently seeking for the projects that you're working on when it comes to the themes for lyrics?
I would say neutral. Right now, we could go sad, neutral to positive. There's a lot right now. I maybe you would call it like swag pop or something, where it's really energetic, really woman forward. That kind of stuff for the young adult product is really popular. Like bouncy pop with some rapped vocals, maybe clean rap. But I'm doing a lot of projects too where I don't need clean rap. I can take explicit rap, which doesn't happen often, but I'm getting a lot of those projects now. Yeah, so that's that swag pop thing. Lyrically, like lots of confidence. Not necessarily like party lyrics, but confidence. I've got this, I can do this, that kind of thing. On the more emotional side of things, I would say anything that doesn't necessarily feel like it's super personal, but more universally relatable is probably a good thing to pitch. There is the occasion where you might have a song about an Allison and it just fits perfectly. And so I like to say, just give me all that stuff too, because that stuff stands out. I'll remember that you have something like that you'll have something specific, and I will put it into my bin about specific things or specific moments. So I like getting that stuff. That stuff is a little bit more challenging to push and to sell to the directors and showrunners, but when you do have something really special, it's worth putting that forward. So yeah, I would say on the emotional side, more not necessarily generic, but more universal in terms of being able to connect with it and resonate with people. And like one example of that would be something like what's that song called? It's The Fray, and I can't remember the title of the song, but I'm sure everybody knows it. It's, you feel the emotion, you connect with it, but it's not necessarily like granular and super specific about what that emotion is. And then neutral is just, I would say, yeah, something that the sentiment is pleasant potentially, but not, it doesn't push you, doesn't lead you either too emotional or too happy. Something that is, again, relatable. All of these things should feel relatable, because you want the person watching to think about the character on screen and the story being told, and not necessarily go, oh, hey, that doesn't quite fit what's going on there. So I would say pitch everything and anything, especially the things that you feel are completely outside of the box, and like maybe nobody else has done this before, this is my thing and I do it really, really well. Pitch those things, because I'll remember those things, and I will look for the things that kind of stand out to pitch. I always like to throw a curveball in whenever I'm sending options out. I do one or two that they might think it's off brief, but it's, for some reason, it resonates for me to the picture. or to the story being told. And I want to take a chance so that the perspective might shift on the scene. Like it's just a different perspective. It's how I am interpreting the scene. And directors and showrunners often appreciate that, because I'm also the audience. I am also the audience. I am kind of, yeah, in service to the story, and I'm absorbing it differently than the person who is creating. So I like to have the ability to go and find something kind of off brief sometimes and throw it in there. So I would encourage you to kind of throw everything in.
That's
Yeah.
great. Give it all over. Everything you got.
Yeah, exactly.
We have an interesting question here that I'm sure on many of our minds lately.
Yeah, I think I see it.
Yeah, the AI question. Do you have
Yeah, so
any
I will
thoughts
tell
on
you.
that?
Yeah, I will actually tell you that personally, and I haven't talked to a lot of my colleagues in the US about this, but I will tell you that production companies are putting in their agreements that on the composition side, they are asking for no use of AI. So if you are signing an agreement as a composer or as an artist, say I were to approach you to do some songwriting on something, most of those agreements, you have to agree to not using AI in whatever you're creating. And on the production company side, a lot of the license agreements are now, they're sneaking that in there. No use of AI in these songs. So on the composition side and on the master side. I don't know if it's the same kind of situation in the US yet. I've been seeing it for 2 years now. And that, to me, I went, okay, if the production companies are already thinking about it, it's going to be a serious thing in the future, because they can't, if something is being used in the production that was created with AI, let's say something like Suno AI, which I don't know if everybody knows what Suno is, but you throw in your lyrics and it pops out a song. You can't guarantee that it's not pulling from things owned by Universal and things owned by Sony, and using a voice that somebody put into a voice bank 10 years ago and has asked to remove it. They can't protect themselves at that point on the production side if the AI has learned on a bunch of copyrighted music. So they're protecting themselves in that way, which is really, really smart. I don't see on the advertising side, I think it's different. And I think things are a little bit less strict on the advertising side. But I can tell you, for film and TV, for the bigger production companies and the larger entities, like somebody like a Lionsgate, they will not allow the use of AI. And I don't necessarily see in the future a way for them to allow that use without opening themselves up to really serious liability. So I hope that gives you some peace of mind that there's some protection in a lot of ways. It's I from my perspective and the perspective that I've had for a couple of years, knowing that these production companies are protecting themselves in that way, I've had a lot of conversations where I've said to artists and composers, don't worry, because there's no way you can get around it. They won't let you use it. So yeah.
So it sounds like it's kind of it's up to the people to put up those regulations. And
that's right.
And
yep.
So would you recommend that artists start putting that in their, like, in the metadata that says no AI used? That might be something to think about.
Yeah, and also if you are sampling something, just be very clear about, where the samples are coming from, and hopefully the samples are cleared, because if I am pitching something, I want to know that I don't have to go and go to a Sony or a Universal to clear something, because it just makes things a lot more challenging. So make sure that if you're using samples, that they're cleared, or you have some kind of backup to show me that it's cleared and that you're good to use it. And sometimes that also extends to something like Splice, because if you Shazam something, I think Sabrina Carpenter there was like a very popular Splice loop in, I want to say, Espresso. And sometimes if you Shazam a song that has the same loop in it, you'll get that song. So just be very clear about what you're using and how you're pitching your tracks. When you're pitching your tracks, if there are samples or anything like that, just make sure that you have the ability to still sync it.
Yeah, great advice. There's a couple more questions here. We're getting close to the end of time. Just to let everybody know, we have a private Facebook group called the Creators Circle. We're going to be doing a thread on there. If anyone has lingering questions that weren't answered today, you can pop the questions in our thread for Asha on the Facebook group. If you haven't joined yet, make sure you do that. I'm going to get through these last couple ones that we've got down. Mike asked, do you prefer to get songs that have not been released, or does it matter to you?
No, it doesn't matter. What I would say is that sometimes I get the opportunity to say, hey, this song is unreleased. This show is coming out in October. Perhaps we can align on your release plans and we can do like a social media post, or I can use that to make a showrunner or director really excited about something, because it's kind of like, well, you've discovered this before it's out. And a lot of them really love the opportunity to showcase something and say that they were the first ones to be able to use it. So yeah, unreleased, released, we love it all.
Do you have is there this is part of the question as well, different ways of pitching, like different strategies? If you have an unreleased song, would you go about pitching that in a different way than if you have a released song?
Yeah, definitely. There's obviously like the confidentiality thing is a big one, and we do get pitched a lot of unreleased material from the majors quite often, where we have the opportunity to, like, quite far in advance sometimes too. So we have to be really careful about how we're sharing that stuff and how we're cutting it to picture, and we might approach that a little bit differently when we are sharing that information. But it's also, we want to make sure that if the show is coming out in October or November or something, that the song is kind of coming out around the same time, so that people can, like, we can send people that way, because it can be kind of maybe counterproductive to have the show come out and then the song's not out until 6 months later. And I think that's why we like to better align with whatever the artist's planning, so that we can send people over to wherever the artist is streaming their music or selling their music, and give them that opportunity to capitalize on the success of whatever the project is. That's really important. So when you are sending me unreleased stuff, if you can be clear about when you're planning to release it, that's very helpful, so that we can make sure that we've got a project that's aligned with that release.
I think in disco as well, you can put, like, in the metadata section, you can put the date of release.
Yeah,
too,
there's a
so that
little
would help.
calendar thingy.
Yeah.
that is that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. A couple more questions. Mike's asking if you ever take demos or specs, or just fully mastered stuff.
You know what? I would say, because I work on the original music side too a lot of the time, I really don't mind getting demos, because I can see more of the potential. The only thing is that I very rarely pitch a demo. So it's really like, if you're sending it to me to go, I'm planning to flesh this song out. Do you think this could be used in blah, 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 blah? I like hearing that stuff. But I won't necessarily pitch it in an unfinished form. If you are interested in doing original music, and you've got these demos and they're not necessarily fleshed out, that helps me to kind of see what your process is. as an artist. And I would normally just probably say that I would provide some feedback at that point if you wanted it, but I won't pitch a demo necessarily.
It's good to know. Definitely good to know. So yeah, when we share the submission link, then people can share demos, I guess, but just
Yeah.
know that yeah, that'll be potentially not pitched, but
Yeah.
good to share.
Right
Amazing.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us your time and all this insight. This was a lot of insight.
My
Yeah,
pleasure.
right, Marcus. Yeah, you're not busy at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
But for those who didn't have their question answered, you're in luck today. We're running a special announcement for you that you can join the Creator Circle and have your Ask Me Anything questions asked there. So join the Facebook group. I just put it in the chat. Check it out. You can ask your question there. And then just for a follow-up for our next week workshop for Pandion Music Foundation, they have Music Supervisor Meet and Greet with Alex Stern next Wednesday, and this will be 3 p.m. PST. And this will be the link for that as well, so y'all can tap in, make sure you RSVP for it. Okay. And then check that out. And so also for the community stories, if there's anybody in here who's had like any type of wins directly related to Pandion Music Foundation, feel free to drop that in and email that or hit us up on socials because it does help with like the year-end reports, and you'll be featured on the grant applications, newsletters, websites, all the things, and your information will be kept personal, not private, well, not public, and we're not going to just give all your information out. So make sure it's anonymous. So we appreciate you for taking time to fill out the form. I'll drop that in the chat as well. So it looks like it's already done.
Yeah, Anna's on top of it.
Yes, indeed. And then also coming soon is the new membership portal that's coming in continued learning and networking. So that's going to be for all creators, and it's free with a donation tier option for those who have the capacity to pay monthly. We have that available to you. And it serves as a central hub for Pandion artists to connect, chat, and follow up with workshops and events. So we're excited to share some more events and updates about that. And then just make sure you also stay connected with us on socials, and keep it going.
Yes, thank you, Jared. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Asha. This was so informative, and some great questions came in. Thank you all always for the amazing questions. Yeah, it's so helpful to hear what everybody is curious about, and yeah, we're excited to listen to your songs that you send in. Make sure to copy that link that we shared in the chat so you can submit that after the call. And yeah, we really appreciate all of your help with these surveys as well. There's going to be another one that pops up automatically at the end of the call. That's more of like just kind of specific data we need to collect for our own fundraising efforts. So thank you so much for helping us with that. And yeah, I think we're at the end of our time. That flew by, as it always does. Thank you again for joining us, Asha, and we'll be in touch and hopefully have you on for another session again soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. It was nice to see everybody. Feel free to reach out to me. Sometimes I'm slow to get back because things are a little bit crazy, but reach out. I will be glad to chat with everybody.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Great. Thank you. Everyone have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all. Yeah, have a good day.
Bye.